And we're live. Now we're good. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Substack Live. Man, it's been a lot of fun recording these through the chaos that is NFL free agency. I'm sure you have kind of written it in so many words too, Andrew. And oh, by the way, this is Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald, reporter, writer, investigative reporter, I should say. You do it all over there covering the Patriots, and it's not easy to stand out on that beat. There are some extraordinary beat writers across the board out there, from radio to the TV. It's a special crew, but you've written some stuff that finds a way to rise above the Twitter slop. So kudos to you, Andrew. It's great having you here, man.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to join you anytime, even when eight-time captain is released and might be retiring or we don't know. I know the Patriots are holding their first free agent press conference in decades. I'm like, I got 15 minutes. I'm going to come hang out with you, and I appreciate the kind words, but I would be remiss and just completely wrong if I didn't cite Doug Kyed, who I couldn't ask for a better partner at the Herald, and then going to the Karen Guregian School of Journalism, which was really great my first 4 or 5 years at the Herald. So just exceptionally lucky and fortunate to work with both of them, but I nonetheless appreciate and accept your kind words.
Andrew, I'm sure you've written it in so many words, but like if you've got money to spend this time of year, that's probably not a good thing. That means you don't have enough players of your own that are worth a shit, that are worth paying. Thanks, Bill Belichick. Maybe he was too busy, chasing tail women a third of his age. I don't know, make your next deep dive. Maybe the drafts were so bad because Bill was a little distracted off the field. But he left Elliott Wolf with a pretty bare cupboard, and it's a bad team, which is how you have all of this cap space, all of this money. They could have made any offer they really wanted to any free agent. Yet it was also bad timing. There really weren't studs, stars. Usually every spring there's 2 or 3 guys that you're like, okay, that guy's gonna get a boatload of cash, and he might not be worth that number, but it's gonna be close. He could be a franchise changer. You look at this whole crew, there weren't a ton of those players. Even then, man, I feel like the Patriots got out of this sitting pretty. Mike Vrabel's fingerprints all over those first 5 signings, from Milton Williams to Carlton Davis, Robert Spillane, Morgan Moses, Harold Landry, I guess would be the first 5. We wrote about it at Go Long, but you know this franchise as well as anyone. You know how bad it was from a talent standpoint. 72 hours later, whatever it's been, what is the state of the New England Patriots under Mike Vrabel?
So I think zooming out, the best way to describe this is to say the Patriots are trying to remake themselves in Mike Vrabel's image, in the same way that we've seen the Lions take 3 years to remake themselves in Dan Campbell's image. It had us all laughing or being like, what the hell's going on? At least for me, biting kneecaps in his press conference. Then you're in the NFC Championship game, like, oh, that's what biting kneecaps, I guess, looks like. For Mike Vrabel, that means feisty, tough, guys who are going to be relentless, even sometimes through the whistle, getting more of them in the building, because that was not the Patriots last year. And it was to a degree with Belichick towards the end, but talent was the talent. So they know they needed to spend money. They needed difference makers. They go over the top for Chris Godwin. He says no. They go over the top for Ronnie Stanley. He says no. So their oldest, biggest needs, receiver and tackle, are still there. But defensively, Ty, last year, they were bottom 5 by like any metric worth its salt. They said, look, if that's where the free agent talent is, that's where we can put our money. That's when we get good players that we know. I think, of course, they overspayed a little bit, a couple of times. But look, that's free agency. So the talent went up. To do this in the most trite, cliche way possible, because we're going to do this on TV later here in New England, I'd give it a B. I give it a B class. But so far in the offseason, more talent, younger guys, they're moving in the right direction.
Right, because the grades are dropping, right? Free agency grades are dropping. I feel like they do serve a purpose, and it's not a matter of this team signed guys, this team didn't. But I feel like if you had money to spend, was it spent wisely, and is it going to take on that reflection of a coach? Is it going to move the team in the right direction? I mean, the Washington Commanders last year, I remember laughing at some of these signings, like Bobby Wagner. What the hell does he have left? Austin Eckler,
Right.
but you like Adam Peters, Dan Quinn. They wanted to bring the vets they were familiar with, from Atlanta to Dallas, San Francisco, everywhere those 2 guys have been. And, it helps when you have Jane Daniels. You need the quarterback, and the Patriots may have that quarterback. I want to get to Drake May. But it does feel like, I don't know if they won the one free agency, but if we're going to apply a grade, I'd go pretty high too, because this was just a franchise astray, lost, and then you win a game with Joe Milton that only hurts you. I mean, you think back to week one, start there, right? Like the Bengals would have rather have won that game, and the Patriots probably would have rather have lost that game in the grand scheme of things. But I don't know, what out of those five players we mentioned earlier, Andrew, which one of those do you think has the greatest impact on this team this season?
I go Milton Williams, and A, because you look at the contract. So clearly they saw him as the best player that they signed, maybe the best player available. I think other analysts had that. And then when you get into the grade component of, oh, is the contract worth it? Like, Ty, I don't look at this as I'm really caring about the dollars in Robert Kraft's pocket. It's more of where's the opportunity cost? Does signing him to a $104 million contract prevent them from pursuing something else? To which I would say no, because they still have all of the cap in the world. They still have a quarterback on a rookie contract. They still have a ways to go for people to want to come to them. So when you get a guy like Milton Williams, who was the best player in the Super Bowl and NFC Championship game last year, who's 25, and you should get his best football ahead of him, not only does he make an impact this season, but when he helps a defense become more of a draw. So next year, maybe one of a Chris Godwin or Ronnie Stanley doesn't say like, yeah, an extra 20 million is nice, but it's not nice enough. I'm going to stay home. He gives you more credibility, a better product, and guys who are bought in. So I think it's Milton Williams by a long shot.
I know it's easy to kind of watch those highlights and see Jalen Carter opening those doors for him, because the guy is a absolute
Yeah,
menace. He's unbelievable. But I think that Milton Williams, you can get excited. I mean, you better. He's $100 million player now. But there just aren't many, what, 6'3", 310, long,
90,
tenacious.
and he's a freak athlete, like 4'6", 34-inch vertical. Oh, no, excuse me, 34, and you and I would be jealous of this, although maybe you're up there. 34 reps on the bench at 225, Milton Williams, plus a 38-inch vertical. So, like, absolute freak, even 310, 290. But he's a big boy.
Right. I mean, because we can dismiss it and say, well, he's playing with Fletcher Cox early in his career, and then he's got Jalen Carter. And maybe that's true. I guess we're about to find out in New England. But I feel like he can be damn good in his own right. You can tell he's got some rare physical gifts that you just, oh, okay, these tough guys. And Robert Spillane, you got Max Crosby, seen as the
Right.
best effing linebacker he ever played with in Vegas. But there's still holes, and they have cap space. But it sounds like receivers don't want to play for New England. I mean, whether it's just the teams have been bad, the taxes, the weather. But here in Buffalo, they kind of dealt with the same thing. I mean, you're dealing with New York taxes, you're dealing with terrible weather. We're finally thawing out here in Boston, cold in New York. But Josh Allen turns out to be pretty good at football, right? Most guaranteed money ever now. Drake May, I'm not going to say he's going to be Josh Allen, but man, there were a lot of promising signs. So do you think that these receivers who could become available, not even just free agency, but via trade, when do they start warming up to the Patriots? Because obviously Brandon Ayuk didn't want to go out there. Chris Godwin took what Ian Rappaport reported, like 20 mil
Yeah.
less.
Right. Right.
How do you change the psychology of these alpha receivers with a little attitude? You need that attitude, that are just looking at New England as what DK Metcalf said. What was his words? Like, not ideal, or they're
Not
not.
designed enough, and that was one time where they didn't even like come all the way to the table because you didn't want to get rejected. Like you're not asking the girl out expecting she's just going to tell you no. Like that was the Patriots and Metcalf. But it's a good question, and you mentioned Buffalo. I think back to watching Josh Allen throw darts into the third row as a rookie at Gillette Stadium, being like, how the hell is this ever going to work out for them? The next year, he's more accurate, but he takes care of the ball much better. And they go into Houston, and there's this rollicking, barn burner of a wild card game down there. And the word kind of gets out because everyone's watching them. And the Patriots were not on national TV except for when the Jets, of all teams, waxed them in week 3. So when you get in those games, you got to ball out. The word needs to get out about what kind of guy Drake May is in the locker room that you want to play with, as it did with Josh. Because it was soon thereafter, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that offseason, they go trade for Stephon Diggs. And, say what you will about the Diggs era in Buffalo, that made a statement. Josh is ready, and guys are happy to be here and can make it work with him. And then when he looks better as a result of playing with guys like Stephon, then you don't even need to make the pitch. It's just like, this is Josh. If you want to play with one of the best quarterbacks in the world, you have to come to Buffalo. And guys go, okay.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I get it. People are a little sour with how it ended. Stephon Diggs. I mean, he
Yeah.
was uber productive, helped take Josh Allen to another level, and Josh Allen got to that level, and he no longer needed Diggs, and he's the MVP of the league. I don't know who that player is, but that is the next step. I feel like they're going to need somebody. I mean, who in the hell is Drake May even throwing to right now? I mean, the draft is still a month away, so maybe you get a player there. But if you're relying on the draft in the draft alone, that's probably not an ideal state of affairs for Drake May.
Yeah, and that's where they've been, Tyler. It's like, people say Groundhog Day. I need a new cliche because, again, just receiver and offensive tackle have been a problem for 3 years running now. And so I think if you were to sign a Cooper Cup, the value in that is not just that he, is a productive guy, had 700 yards, 6 touchdowns, whatever number of catches, I think 67, all of which would have led the Patriots, by the way, far and away, every single category. That's how sad things are here in New England. But the point is, the residual value would be in how he works, how he approaches his position, how he ensures, health aside, he gets every ounce of his talent and ability out of himself with how he prepares and practices and executes. You can't say that about any one of the Patriots receivers from right now. So if they drafted Ted McMillan, there's a talent upgrade. But if he's alongside Cooper Cup, there's an example of this is how you do it. This is how you get the best out of yourself. If you think you're this good, this is how you get there, and to live and walk and play with that every single day. So that's the only vision that I have right now. Otherwise, you're really just counting on the coaching and the guys in there who aren't real leaders to do that for you. I would much rather do the Cup in a day one, day two pick to help Drake May and the receivers moving forward.
I get it. These receivers can fall off a cliff, Andrew, but I mean, it wasn't too long ago. What, 3 years the Cooper Cup is 1,900-yard receiver, Super Bowl MVP. He made some plays last year. I'm thinking of the game against Buffalo, that shootout. He can
Yeah.
still play. It's health, staying on the field. But yeah, you look at those Patriot receivers: Demario Douglas, 621 yards; Kayshon Boutte, 589; Kendrick Bourne, 305; and Jalen Polk were coming in at 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they need some.
One guy you didn't mention, Javon Baker, their fourth round pick, who someone I talked to at the combine is with the team, says is still the most talented guy in there. Famous for big plays at UCF, then joining our draft day Zoom after he gets drafted to speak with reporters and say, "Oh, I make people stand up out of wheelchairs." It's like, okay, he finished the season, Ty, with the same number of catches as the left tackle had. So that's the state of affairs. Yeah, just one, just a single one, and he was a roster lock last year. Shouldn't have been. The talent is there, but like again, we talk about how do you get that out of it? You need someone playing, working with you in the same way that Edelman had Welker, right? And then anyone who came into that room knew they had to live up to Edelman standards. So it's just something you got to pass along. They haven't had that for a while.
Yeah, two more for you because I think that there are a lot of similarities to Josh Allen and the Bills. Year one, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott. I mean, they wanted to just clear the decks. I mean, into Bean taking over for Doug Whaley and our old pod co-host Jim Onis there. It's Sammy Watkins is out, Ronald Darby is out. They try to just get rid of a lot of players for culture, a lot of money to just create some room. And that first year, it's straight free agents. It's Robert Foster. It's our old pal Isaiah McKenzie. Year two, John Brown, Cole Beasley are signed. I mean, that's kind of where the Patriots are now. So you got to find somebody. Maybe Cup is that player. And then year three, okay, a lot of people around the NFL, they saw Josh Allen for a couple years. They saw him take the Bills to the playoffs. They lose that wild card game to Houston. I don't know if the Patriots are going to get to the playoffs in the AFC, but I think second in the division is realistic. He can show something this year, and then maybe that big step is in year three. That's not out of the realm of possibility because I love Drake May, but is he talented enough to kind of stay on that timeline, right? That similar ascension progression.
I think so. I mean, I'm sold on the kid, and I know, I told this to your B colleagues like Matt Perino, like when you guys were hyping up Josh Allen at 18. Again, I'm talking about like one of the ugliest games I've seen. Granted, he's a rookie. It was a good Bill Belichick defense back there. I'm like, you guys are nuts. Like, I don't see this at all. Drake May had flashes, but it's more the way he's talked about in the locker room, and also the fact that he has a complete modern skill set, like that ability to create out of nothing. That I like to compare to NBA superstars who last 5 seconds of the shot clock, the play's busted, it's covered. You got to create space and get a shot up. He does that for them, and they've needed that in the worst way. So I think he can do that in a way that Josh does, Mahomes does, all the best quarterbacks do, in addition to playing on time, which is they fixed his footwork last year. I think you've got everything you need there in Drake Maye. It's just a matter of support and continuity. So for the Patriots, not only is Josh McDaniels regarded as a good offensive coordinator, rank him wherever you want, but he's slightly above average at worst. He's not a flight risk. No one's taking him to be their head coach anytime soon. And that's a big bonus for Drake Maye, is to say he'll be here, he'll teach you, he'll grow with you. And forget the Brady stuff. He did it with Jimmy Garoppolo. He did it with Matt Castle for a year. Kyle Orton looked better than he ever had all the way back in Denver in those years. And that's a guy that they trust and should. But we'll see what comes from Drake Maye. But everything so far has been 2 thumbs up. And it might not continue, but for now, I believe.
Right. If you've got all of those issues all around you and you can make this team entertaining,
Yeah.
that's I'm thinking of the year prior when they played Buffalo, like Bailey Zappi. It was, you didn't know what in the hell happened the next snap. We had like 3 or 4 turnovers in the first quarter. It was disaster. So things trending in the right direction. Andrew Callahan, thank you so much, man. You do such a great job out there in this Substack world, signing up to the list. So that just means I'm going to bug you more, and everybody here on Substack Live can expect to see you more. I just volunteered you yourself. You're joining us again.
You got it, man. Look, there's no one better in the long form football space. I'm so glad this has been a success for you, because I was reading you Bleacher Report, Buffalo, obviously, up in Wisconsin, like all those places you've been. So I'm glad this is working for you. I will be back, and you're committed to come on my podcast, Pat's Interference, and we will talk about Carlton Davis. Speaking of long form football stuff, bows to no man, I heard. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Hell yeah, man. Any day, anytime. Can't wait to join. That's right. Pass Interference. Make sure you check out Andrew's podcast in addition to everything he's writing in the Herald. Thanks so much, man.
You got it anytime, Ty.